in terms of resources that they have, and also the impact on legislation and at the company level. The impact on working conditions is relatively weak, especially, and that regards especially to the private sector, and of course platforms are the private sector. This is the part of the labor market that we are discussing today. On the top of that, according to the Polish law, self-employed and those who are employed under civil law contracts were not allowed, they were not entitled to become a member of trade union. That has changed recently in January 2019, so it's been already like 5 months when the law has been amended, and this social right, this worker right, has been extended to all workers, regardless the form of employment. And that is the reason why social partners, trade unions, did not take an initiative, because they did not have any members in the sector, right? So this is the justification of lack of actions in these terms. And all of this shifts the discussion on platform work from industrial relations system and collective bargaining towards the legal regulations, because this is the level where at least some initiatives, some actions could be undertaken. And in the Polish context, we do have, of course, employees that are covered by the labor code, and self-employed, which are regulated under slightly different regulations, but there is also quite a numerous group of those who are employed under civil law contracts, and they are not covered by labor law. Labor code. That means that their protection is very limited. Yes, and in this context, the initiative that is undertaken by ETUC, namely extending the definition of the worker, would be very much adequate to the Polish context, because regulation that would come from the EU level could impact national legislation and would be very relevant for protecting platform workers in Poland. So let me put a stop in this point and pass the floor to Małgorzata, who will introduce you to the only legal regulation that has been discussed recently, and that regards taxi drivers or passenger transport.
Okay. My name is Małgorzata Koziarek, and I'm from the Institute of Public Affairs in Poland. Okay, so let's describe the measures that we have in Poland. I'm going to talk in the transport sector. I will focus on taxi services mainly, because this is where the first platform entered the Polish market. I mean Uber, and as a result of some media hype and the interest, what happens with the money earned by drivers who work for Uber, in terms of whether their work is declared anywhere and whether any taxes are paid on the money they earned. The Ministry of Finance responded with the statement that in the case of Uber drivers, you cannot identify an employer. And in such a case, the person who earns money needs to register self-employment, meaning one-person business activity. Yes? Which means that in order to be able to pay taxes. So that means that that such a person would himself or herself take care of contributing to the tax system and also contributing to the social security system, because self-employment, one-person business activity, is also covered with social protection. And that and will also need to take care of all the bookkeeping work, that is formalities related to running a one-person company. So as a result, Uber several months after the statement was announced, officially declared that is not going to cooperate with anybody who is not a registered business, which means that drivers that want to use the Uber application needs to be entrepreneurs themselves. Yes, need to be registered. The result was that some of the drivers left, especially those who for whom that was an extra job. Some registered their business activity, that is taxi driving activity, and some got another opportunity because they could work through other entities who would have this business status, registered status, so could be a partner for Uber, and they could employ those drivers who don't want to register as entrepreneurs. Yes? And the estimate of Uber was, I think it was last year's estimate, or that 40% of drivers work for so-called partners, and the partner company is a fleet company. That is a company which has a number of cars and owns the cars and or leases the cars and takes care of the maintenance of the cars and petrol and everything, and employs drivers who provide services for Uber. However, so from the legal point of view, we had those drivers who registered as entrepreneurs and drivers working via partners who were employed by those partner firms under civil law contracts, which means they could enjoy a certain level of social security, because this is what the Polish law requires, but no labor rights. And what is important to add is the financial aspect of the whole thing, because as a result, the net income has dropped. Those who registered as entrepreneurs had to start to pay taxes and social security contributions. Those who work through partners need to I mean, partners take 40% of the money which is left after Uber deducts its margin. So 60% is left is left to to the driver. And the Uber margin has not changed. Actually, it's 25%. Yes, so the fact that the social protection costs had to be incorporated and personal income taxes had to be incorporated resulted in quite radical fall in the actual income made by the drivers, which contributed to the following. The inflow of migrants who could accept lower fees, like Ukrainians who come to Poland to earn money and then to spend their earnings in Ukraine, where the spending, I mean, the money has a better spending power, so to say, and also. A lot of drivers working via partners do not have any contracts. Yes, because if they want to get more money, then they would prefer not to pay social security or tax, and it's also, let's say, better or more convenient for the so-called partners. So that's so to put the long story short. This, the statement of the Ministry of Finance contributed to a certain level of registration of undeclared work, but didn't improve the situation of the drivers too much. I'm over time, yes? Okay. So, and I would like to just to mention that the similar model is found in cleaning services. Yes. Then the other important issue was the question of fair competition and the licensing. So the Ministry of Infrastructure, which was another ministry interested in the operation of platforms in the taxi services, decided to make an easier access for new entrants to the sector, because they held many audits of drivers, and it turned out that they are delivering the service without the required documents, and the taxi services are licensed part of the market. Which of course is not welcome by the licensed taxi drivers who have been present in the market for a long time, and under the regulations proposed by the Ministry of Infrastructure, also there is a new player introduced, the intermediary in a transport service. This is and so such platforms who do not deliver transport services, but they are intermediaries by matching the passengers and the drivers, they will have to get a license for such an activity, and also will be obliged to check whether the drivers who deliver the service have the relevant licenses for transport. Now, and also what is important, they will need to register all the orders and keep this data for 5 years. And now, what's important in this story, that on the government side, only the Ministry of Finance was interested to address the issue of Uber and similar platform. The Ministry of Infrastructure, because it's interested in the standards present in the sector, in the transport sector, and the Ministry of Entrepreneurship as an actor promoting entrepreneurship and also new business models, new technologies. No Ministry of Labor at all, and what seems to be a missed opportunity, for instance, is this. The function of this, the control function, which will be eased, which will be made possible through this obligation of registering the orders, for monitoring the compliance with labor-related regulations. Yes. So that's
Thank you very much, Marcus. I propose we proceed directly to the last case, Bill of Lazio, then we have a global discussion. So we are 15 minutes late. Is this okay for the interpret? Is this okay, 15 minutes? 15 minutes? If we finish at a quarter after 1, yeah? Okay. Okay? Okay?
Okay.
So, 5 minutes. 5 minutes. So we finish at 5 minutes after 1.
Okay. I will try to be very quick, not to have anyone starving in the room. At least I'm afraid we are already. First of all, just to let you know, this law, I'm going to talk about a local initiative. It's a bill that was finally approved in March and became a law in April. I will skip all the political issue because this is actually within a clash between the Five Star Movement and the Democratic Party about passing protections for protecting riders, but I will skip this issue. Maybe we'll talk among the partnership later. So what does the bill say? Basically, I will say that the bill is built on 2 legs. There is one leg that's about giving some rights to these workers, and another that's about supportive measures. As to the first one, we have a set of rights. First of all, similarly to the Charter of Bologna, workers are granted minimum pay at least in line with collective agreement. Plus, and that's an interesting addition, they shall be granted a specific indemnity whenever their shift is cancelled, not due for their reason, let's say a snowfall or because the employer say they are no longer needed. So it's a bit like reversing, no, the idea. Apart from that, they shall be granted social protection in line with national standards. So even if the law does not specify if they shall be employed or self-employed, basically it's like moving pretty much toward the employee status, because if you don't change they have not the power to change the type of employment relationships. So as of now, in order to have these levels, you should either apply a subordinate contract or a self-employment contract, but which would be risk to be qualified as self-employed. Yeah. As usual. Sorry, I'm too quick. Okay. Yeah, indeed, there are also to make some agreements with the social security institutions to possibly enable this. There is a set of information rights pretty similar to the directive that is going to be approved on the transparent and predictable working conditions. And they include also the right to be informed about the rating system, the ranking system, how this works, and includes as well the portability of the rating. So in theory, workers should be granted this option, and the possibility